I think one of the things that your film does very powerfully for me is just conjure this feeling of being lost, the sense of disorientation that you sometimes feel when you're in a completely unknown environment. The film begins in Argentina, where you're from, but then it moves to Mozambique and then to the Philippines. Can you tell us a bit about how you ended up in those two other places and what you were looking for in particular?
Well, yeah, I think I was looking for that, you said, being lost and trying to advance to what I don't know, and some situations that put me in this state of urgency of having to do something in a new place, and taking my ideas to places that I don't know what will happen. I don't know. I don't feel very comfortable with the certainty and and I feel that this thing of being lost and going to the unknown is something very useful to advance and to discover other things in life, and that's what I need to do to make my life better. And well, more in a more concrete way, before I made some shorts in Sierra Leone and in Vietnam, so I really wanted to go back to some parts of the world, like, and discover new places, but in these zones. And then I didn't need any specific country of that places, and then Mozambique was more of a production thing that I could, some people wanted to help me if I went there, and I did it. Because my ideas weren't very specific for the place, so and the idea was to go and then be there and adapt my ideas to the place I was finding. And then Philippines, because I discovered a place in my computer and a concrete location, and I wanted to go there, and I went for that, and then to discover a new place and new people and new languages. No, I really I really like this thing of being in my language, then in one that is mostly similar, that's Portuguese, and then in one that is more different. Like, that's very important for me, this thing of, I think that I want to be in this lost of that, because I think that what I like to see in films and what I like to do is, I don't know, like to not be so conscious about everything, and it forces me to have more faith in intuition and to advance, even if I don't know, in this state of urgency, and that's it a little bit.
But at the same time, I think you were alluding to certain ideas that you had at the start, and I mean, I think you can read this film as, you know, it's in some ways a film about really big ideas. I mean, it's a film that deals with technology, deals with labor, you know, and the absence of labor. And I'm wondering what were the ideas that how did it start, and what were the ideas that you brought to Mozambique and to the Philippines?
Well, yeah, these things about technology and labor, I think, is the things that were very important for me in my life. I mean, when I was young and I finished school, I think I discovered that what I was supposed to do is like working for just to survive and to earn money, and I found that really depressing, and I wanted to try and do something more interesting or that excited me a little bit more. And then I started traveling thanks to the shorts, and I discovered that was the same. Everyone in very different countries had the same feeling. Some of them find it weird, and some of them accepted it, but it was a thing we shared very easily with people in lots of different countries. And then technology, I know, is like the place I live in a way. I don't know, I was like my life developed a lot using internet and the computer, and I think my brain works in a very different way because of that. And I think that is a very natural thing that comes to the film, and thanks to the internet, I could do this film because lots of people I met on the internet, and I look for actors on Facebook, and I met this location on Google, and then I think there's another thing that I was thinking the other day, that is like, I also get a little bit tired of being so much time on the internet. So it's something of getting all these things to the physical world. So I'm gonna do this film, and people are sort of chatting in physical world, you know, in some way. And well, there's a lot more to say about it, but
You shot each of the three sections in a different format. Can you maybe just say what they are and why you did that?
yeah. Well, I shot in Argentina. We shot in Super 16 millimeters. In Mozambique, we shot in Black Magic Pocket, or really small video camera, and then we reshot that in Super 16 millimeters from the computer of the guy. That's looking.
So it was reshot off the computer
Yeah.
on 16.
Yeah. And then we used like a big video camera, red camera, which, yeah, in the Philippines. And yeah, I wanted to do this in some way because I felt it was good for the advancing of the film, to change textures and to make this communication between places and this developing of the texture of the image. I think it was something that could apport a lot of life and dynamics to the film. And then I'm really interested in what these cameras do when I'm shooting there physically. You know, it's really different the way in which we work the scenes when we have a really big film camera, and film is so expensive, so we have a really big limitation there. We have rehearsals are not the same, and then the tension is not the same, and then people in the streets don't react in the same way. And then when you have a really small camera that is more normal, also the actors or non-actors react in a different way, and people in the streets react in a different way. And we have, I don't know, I wanted to have all of these different ways of working also during the film, because some of the things repeat themselves in each country, so I wanted to know how that would repeat itself, but in a different way of working. Yeah, that was a little bit the idea.
Can you say a bit about the camera work and specifically just the relationship of the camera to the characters? I think we're very used to seeing, it's almost like an art cinema, like cliche, to have the camera following the characters, like from the back. But I think your film does this in a I've never seen it like this. I think it's a completely new way. It's sometimes the camera seems to be one of the characters, maybe. It's often sort of lagging behind, and I'm just curious if you can talk a little bit about just how you conceptualize the cinematography.
Yeah, I think it comes from a lot of different thoughts, but some of them are, in some way I really wanted the film to be this contrast between very strange things and very normal things, and I think that the camera really helped to balance this in some scenes, because I think when you are following someone and you feel he's not meant to be followed, and he's escaping from you, and I think that really gives you this sensation of that you don't know if that is being made for you when you are seeing the film or not. And I think that's good, because in other moments things seem to be more choreographed, maybe, or more maybe like fictionalized. And then I don't know, I wanted to use the film camera as a video camera. I wanted to feel the camera was used in the same way that any of that guys could use it, not in a very professional, super great way. And I also like to feel this how do you say, this weakness a little bit of the camera, that on the film, that is, you never know if it's falling or what is happening, and I think that really helped me to balance this thing of fiction and reality, or very strange abstract things and very normal things. And then I don't know, it was a work with the actors or the non-actors or the guys that play in the film. It was a relation with them, and to make them feel sometimes more like not feel the camera or feel the camera. But yeah.
And how do you work with them? I mean, how much of it is scripted? How much do you allow them to improvise? Do you encourage them to improvise? And I assume you spend some time with them before you start shooting.
Yeah, I spend time with them. That's the most important thing, because I'm not very good at explaining the film in words. So I try to explain them some things, but I think it's not very clear. So I think it's more clear when I spend time with them. Then I think they can guess a little bit more of what's the film speaking about. Like, I don't know, I just go to their houses and spend time with them, and it's useful for me, and I think it's useful for them to know where they're going, what they are going into, you know. And then some scenes are 100% scripted. Other scenes are a mixture between script and improvisation. Other scenes are totally improvised. It changes. The only important thing maybe for them to know is that everything is okay. I mean, everything they do is okay, and that anything can be wrong. That's like they are all non-actors, so for me it was really important to first to create the same sort of scene we needed in front of the camera, behind the camera, and also for them to know that maybe some things that are wrong finally will be the best things of the film. So are supposed to be wrong because I didn't want that, but maybe then there will be okay. So that's good. And then rehearsal changes a little bit in some countries, or also with the camera thing, or sometimes, but yeah, it was different in each country. Sometimes we rehearse a little bit more, and sometimes less.
Were there language barriers? I mean, I know with your short, I forgot, like which was shot in Vietnam, you didn't speak Vietnamese, and you often didn't know what you were shooting in that film. But was that the case maybe with the Philippines section here? Or?
Yeah, but there are barriers, and each barrier also opens another possible way, right? That was the idea a little bit. For me, seeing people or hearing people talking in a language I don't understand opens a lot of different possibilities of what I'm seeing. So that was the idea of being there. And I think for them it's also useful sometimes, so they feel less observed in the scene, so they feel more relaxed also, because they know I'm not understanding what they say. And yeah, I think every barrier is another door that's opening in another way. So that was really important for the film, and in every part of the film, right? This idea of barriers and doors. But yeah, I really like this travel through languages. I learned a lot also. I don't know, this in Mozambique they speak Portuguese, but it has a lot of their own languages that existed before the Portuguese arrived. So that was really interesting for me, and to see how they wanted or didn't want to speak this or that language, or they preferred to speak in Portuguese. And I don't know, that I learned a lot about that, and it was very interesting to see how language, what does language means for them, you know. And also in Philippines, where they have lots of Spanish words that they didn't know they were Spanish words, and then created this sort of relation between us that was really close suddenly, because we shared a lot of words, and that was also a surprise for them and for me. And I think we learned a lot through like exploring this very strange language thing that we have.
We'll take some questions from the audience. Any questions?
So you mentioned this idea of the sort of... Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. You mentioned the idea of the sort of absurd versus the more mundane aspects of the film. For me, I wanted to hear you speak a little bit about how the absurd moments seem to almost function as like a kind of punctuation. Like they always come in at almost the end of a kind of moment or sequence or something, and then abruptly we move on to something else. And I find it, again, like Dennis, a very new thing. I don't feel like I've seen something like that before. I just wanted to hear you speak about it a bit.
Yeah, I think, that there is from one side this general thing about absurd and normal being together, and then there is a sort of rhythm and musicality that I wanted to create in the film, and this thing helps a lot, like having this surprise in one moment and then somehow boring moments and then this surprise again, and then this thing. I think it's very important for me to create like the rhythm of the film, and also because when I'm watching films I really like to be more attentive and then be more maybe in my head and then come back to the film and then come back to my head. And I think this exercise is a really interesting thing I find in cinema, and I think this makes me relate better with films, and I wanted to create that for the people that will see my film. And I think that this surprising or absurd things that happen do that. When something surprises you, you are more attentive to it, and when something is longer and it's maybe in a different rhythm, maybe you come back a little bit more. And I try to create this sort of thing that comes and goes. Yeah, and then that's it, I think.
I think maybe related to that is, maybe could you say a little bit about the locations in the film and how you find them? Because a lot of them seem to be just these very ordinary spaces, but because of how you shoot them or like the way we spend time in them, they start to seem like very strange and kind of dreamlike environments.
Well, I think this is produced because it's what I feel about these places. Like they are very strange and very normal at the same time, and I have this way of looking at them. So maybe that's translated in the film. And then some of the locations were important for me for having the idea of the film, or the first for some scenes the first thing that I thought about was the location, and for others the location was just accidental, or maybe I discovered it when I'm there, and I don't know, in my first shorts locations were really important, like were the base of the idea, and now I try to go to different countries just to be not to be very stuck with this way of working. And I found it very good. It's really surprising how you can find locations in different places who work so in such interesting ways for the scenes I wanted to do, you know. And then I think it's always like I'm shooting always from very far away from the people, so locations are always very present, and landscapes. So yeah, it's very important for me, and because I want to have this like sensation of I don't know, of not being so concentrated in the person, you
on
know?
the figure. Right. I think that creates an interesting effect on many scenes. Like we don't actually know where to look in the frame, which I think is quite an interesting effect.
Yeah, me too. I think yeah, I love that. I mean, that's why I do it. But I really like to be able to, when you don't have a special point that attracts you in the image, you start like wandering about, and you start looking there or here. And I really like that, and I try to give the opportunity to the people that see my film to do that. Like to, if you have a really important point in the image, everyone will look there. But if you don't have a clear important part, then everyone will look for two different parts of the image, I hope. So I think also that relates with the themes, you know. I don't have a really strong theme in the movie, and I like to people catch very different things of the film. Some feel that the film is about this, and others think that the film is about very different things. And I think this is a little bit related.
I just wanted to say I think you did like an amazing job of like not playing the locations for their exoticness, and I just was wondering like what that kind of thought process was.
I can repeat that. It's okay. It was just about. Well, since you have the mic now, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. I was just saying that you did a great job of not playing the locations for their exotic quality, and what that kind of thought process was when you were conceiving in the film and filming.
Well, I think it's because I feel very uncomfortable with this exotic view over some places or some countries or some people. I don't know. I think it's very strange to put some people in the exotic place, or some places in the exotic place, and some others in the normal. On the, you know, this is very like, this is normal and this is not normal, or this is. like what is given and this is what is strange, and I really like to mix this, and I don't believe some things are given and some things are more strange. I think everything is as given or as strange as you want it to be. So I think it relates to that. I don't know, it's my way of seeing the places or of relating to the people I meet. I don't know, I'm as exotic as them, or we are all as exotic as you want us to be, you know, and in the same, for one part, I really go everywhere believing everyone is as normal as I am, and we are all as strange as we are. No, it's very, I don't know, everything is very balanced in that way. It's just your choice of looking at that or not. But I don't know if that answered your question or not. Maybe. It did or not? If not, tell me. Maybe you are referring to another thing.
I'm saying it could have been easy to have that kind of film, but I feel like you did not skip.
Yeah, I believe that film would be horrible. To go to these places and have this exotic observation or way of seeing them. I don't know. I feel very uncomfortable with that. I don't know. It's very, because this thing of this is the given thing and the other things are, I don't know. It's very bad in some ways, in my opinion.
Yeah, on the subject of places, I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit about the relationship between the mediums that you shot the different sequences with and the places themselves. If there was production constraints or other considerations that led you to shoot in different formats in specific places.
Well, so yeah, there were. Like in Argentina, I think it was the best place to shoot in film because I'm from there. I know the place. I have my friends. It's easier in some ways for me because I knew a little bit more from before what I could do there because it was the only place I knew before going to shoot there. The other places I just went to shoot, so I didn't go before. So it was the only place, not the only, but it was the best place to shoot in film for me because of this. And also maybe it's the only place I could get a free film camera and free developing and all of that. That's also important. But mainly it was this. And then maybe in the streets of Argentina, I know a little bit more how to react or how to behave. So when you have a camera, everything maybe it's like a point of attraction to what is happening there. So maybe it's better. I went before to Sierra Leone with a film camera, and it was great experience. But it was maybe I don't know. It was very complex in some way because I attracted the attention of people in the streets, and with this camera it was even more. And it was a little bit, I don't know, it was okay, but I didn't want this to happen this time. And so that's why why I went to Mozambique with this really small camera, because in Mozambique I wanted to be in the city where there's a lot of people, and I wanted not to attract their attention so much. So if I was with this camera, it's more just of a tourist or someone with a camera, but it doesn't attract your attention so much. Maybe the microphone is more, it's more like, I don't know, you understand. But that was really important for me. Yeah, I really wanted to be in the city, in the streets, without attracting the attention of people so much. So that's why I wanted to have this really small camera. And also because in Mozambique I used the camera, and I wanted to, at least in one of the parts, use it myself. I really like this thing of sometimes being able to react in the scene to what is happening. And also I like to have another brain reacting also sometimes. So I like both things. So that's why sometimes it's another person who has the camera in the other parts. And then Philippines, we were supposed to be more in natural places, so not so many people are around. So it was a little bit better to be with this really big camera that we were using. And I really like to end the film with this really different texture, that everything changed a lot, and this light and this really green and really clear image. So a little bit it was because of that. Yeah.
Any more questions? I'll just ask one more then. Can you talk about the bridging scenes? We get from the first, how we get from the first section to the second, then the second to the third. The first being the computer screen, and then the ant.
Yeah, well, that was a little bit very important for the structure of the film. I think when I had that, I knew I could advance and do the film. Not only that, but that was really important. And then I thought it was important to connect these places in different ways, through technology and through nature, which sometimes are seen as opposite things, but I think they are very like the same thing or very related in lots of ways. Then I think it was important for me. I really like to go in the computer, and I think it was very good for the film to have this connection through the computer, and I really liked like going there and watching it in the screen and then passing through the screen and going. I felt it was a sort of small surprise moment, which I liked. And it was a way of connecting them in a very natural way also. And in a way I connect also to a lot of people, and I really like it, and I feel it's very strange and great. You see really intimate and strange scenes when you look at people on the internet. And then the ants is like also a new, it was a way of changing that a lot, and at the same of exercising this observation to another type of absolute different thing. And I'm personally very attracted to observing ants, and I really like to think about them, and I don't know, I really like to have a lot of different points of view in a film. And I think this was a way of taking the point of view a little bit further, and that was interesting for me. And it was a way of having some very fantasy moment, you know, like you're there and you go into this hole, and it's like, and it's a very, you're going down to this, and it was exciting for me to think about that. And I didn't know how will I do that, and it was very exciting to have this like these questions in me, or how would I solve this, and I think that excitement could pass to the people that watch the film, you know. And I really wanted this to happen, and to have this really and I really like to know there's lots of very, very different worlds just by moving your eyes, you know. You can have access to really like absolutely different worlds. For me, it's like that's the same as traveling to Mars. I don't know, it's like so crazy. They are living in this sort really strange language, and really they have a really separated consciousness from ours. So I really like to do this in a very simple way, you know, just looking at them and going in. And I think for me it's very important that to communicate that in the film in some way, or to share that better than communicate. Like this thing of multiple points of view that are always very accessible or disponibles. I don't know. So much English.
All right, I think you did very well. Well, thanks, Teddy. It's an amazing film, and I'm very glad you could be here.
Thank you. Thank you.